Hello, everybody. My name is Toya Wilson-Smith, and I am happy to be presenting using Google Analytics in 2022. This is a pre-recorded webinar. You will have access to this slide deck. So if you are anything like me and you have a hard time keeping up with those handwritten notes, know in advance that you're going to have this slide deck. So with that being said, let's jump right into our content. Now, if you've ever attended one of my workshops before, and I have been teaching webinars like this for small business centers all over the state, you know that I love to start with a quote. And today's quote is brought to us by Dr. Wayne Dyer, who unfortunately is no longer with us, but whose words still ring true after he has departed. So this quote goes something like what you see on the screen. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And the reason why I selected this quote for today's webinar is no matter what your past experience has been with Google Analytics, whether you understand it, whether you've used it in the past, I want you to leave all of those ideas behind you and look at Google Analytics with a fresh eye. Look at Google Analytics with the data that it can show you in terms of the missed or missing opportunities inside of your business right now, today. As you can see, our agenda is pretty straightforward, and this pre-recorded webinar should last no longer than 30 to 45 minutes of your time. But I guarantee you, and this is my big, bold promise, if you implement just 3 of the analytics reports that I'm going to share with you today, you will uncover opportunities to increase revenue inside of your business. Just 3. And so we're going to cover about 5 different analytics reports, my favorite 5, as I call it. And if you implement 2 or 3, and I'm going to share with you a case study of one of my previous clients that just implemented 1 and actually started making more money and increasing the people on her email list. I guarantee you that you will have the same experience if you go and actually do the work and use the reports that Google Analytics provides you that she did in her business. So more on that to come. But we're going to actually talk about how can Google Analytics really help your business? Like, is it worth your time? And I say yes, but I want you to understand why it can. Then, how do you create a Google Analytics account? How do you hook it to your website? Then I would love for you to know what are the best Google Analytics reports to review, because it gives you a lot of information. Some of the information is useful. Other pieces of the information will have you in the weeds wondering, scratching your head, like, do I really need this? And then I want to share with you a couple of other ways to use Google Analytics, and then actually wish you well. And if you have any questions, tell you how you can get a hold of me on social media to ask me those questions. Okay. Let's do a little quiz though. Let's see what you already know about Google Analytics. So the first quiz question is this. What is a metric report not provided by Google Analytics? Is it A, audience? Is it B, acquisition? Is it C, behavior? Or is it D, podcast downloads? And if you said D, you were absolutely correct. Virtual high five through the computer. Google Analytics does not, has never, it probably will not ever measure podcast downloads. Time for quiz question number 2. What does bounce rate mean? Does it mean A, number of seconds a visitor remained on a website? Does it mean B, What percentage of visitors only triggered one action from the Google Analytics server? Or is it C, how many times each unique visitor landed on the website? Now, to be fair, all of these things are measured by Google Analytics, but bounce rate really does record B, what percentage of visitors triggered an action before bouncing or leaving your website? So did they submit their email address? Did they go to another page on your website from where they initially entered? Did they do something else, right? Click on a picture or click on one of your social media icons. That's what bounce means. Now, Google Analytics will measure the amount of time that each unique user will spend on their website. That's a different measurement. And they will actually say how many unique visitors landed on their website versus just general page views. But you really do want to know what's the percentage of folks that are taking action, because those are the pages and the sections that you will need to maximize to turn that visitor into an actual lead and a percentage of those leads into actual customers. Now, the last quiz question is maybe a little obscure, but we're going to use it anyway. What can hurt your Google ranking the most? Is it site load speed, which is A? Is it mobile optimization, which is B? Or is it C, zombie pages, pages that really, people aren't visiting? And the answer is A. So Google, in their latest update, GA4, said the site load speed is the most important. Right now, they think that every website should be optimized for mobile, right? That's clear. But whether it's optimized for mobile or not, if it takes too long for your site to load on a computer or a mobile device, then Google feels like that's hurting the user experience. And that's why that is the most impactful thing that can hurt your Google ranking. So let's talk about our case study. How can Google Analytics really help you grow your business? And I want to share with you a client from last year who actually has an e-commerce business, and her company's called AmeriCat Company. And she used Google Analytics to grow her sales in less than 30 days. She actually had connected Google Analytics, but she never actually looked at the data until we started working together. And I told her that it was a good idea and a missed opportunity. So here's her website homepage. And you see that she has all of the relevant pages, right? Shop, about us, the cat care blog, and support. And her website was very well laid out. But what Google Analytics shows is the areas of opportunity. Where are people really coming into her website at? And what are they doing on her website? So interestingly enough, 60% of her traffic, 60%, that's over a half. And she was getting about 2,000 to 3,000, I know that's a big range, views, unique page views per month, right? 2,000 to 3,000, that was a big range. Some months it would be 5,000 or 6,000. Some months would be 1,500 to 2,000. And most of them, because remember I said 60%, most of them were coming from this one blog post. Now she had several blog posts. And if you go to her website today, she still has several blog posts. But this one is ranked number 1, right, on Google page 1. And it's how to place cat bowls, where to place cat bowls, any variation of that, she comes up right here. She has the featured snippet as well. She comes up above Wiki. She comes higher than Amazon and other blogs. So 60% of her traffic was coming in through here, right? And you can see people also search for it. So by using Google Analytics, she was able to actually optimize that page. Now you might be saying, okay, Toya, that sounds good, but what does optimize the page really mean? So before we understood that Google Analytics showed us, that 60% of the traffic to her website was coming in from that one blog post, she only had the blog post. There were no links, right? And that was it. So in the middle of the blog post, right, she has a shop button. And for this, she basically says that you can save 10% off your first order at americatcompany.com with the coupon location. Now, that doesn't require you to enter your email or anything like that. But her sales, as soon as she put that one section into this page, her sales immediately started coming in the very next day, right? And then she added later a question to engage with her audience. And today, I believe she has about 17 to 20 comments. She didn't have any of this information on her homepage before. Now she does. She has also links to her other blog posts so that it can deepen people's awareness and they can get caught up in the content loop or spider web that she's created on this webpage that is literally the gateway to the rest of her site. So what she did was she started on these other blog posts. She actually has, hey, sign up to receive my email newsletter that contains these blog posts as well. So she was doing three things, right? She was deepening the relationship with her audience who may have just come to get this one question answered by adding comments and then responding. Number two, she increased her sales, right? From this one thing that she did, she increased her sales just by adding a coupon code at the right time in the blog post. And number three, she was building her email list because they wanted more content, right? So what if you could do the same thing? Just think about that. What if you could do the same thing? So let's talk about how to set up your Google Analytics accounts. First of all, you want to visit google.com/analytics and log in with your Gmail or Gmail email credentials. Then you need to connect it to your website. So if you have a web designer, then what I would advise you to do is to go into the admin section, which is in the lower left-hand section of the homepage of Google Analytics. Then go to property, then go to tracking code. So property is in the middle section. Tracking code is right underneath in that middle column, and then copy the Google Analytics ID. And then you can send it to your web designer. You can paste it into your Wix or GoDaddy or Squarespace website account. They have all of those have helpful blog posts and articles that walk you through it step by step, or you might work with a web designer, which is my favorite thing. So you just paste in and ask them, hey, can you go do it? Or if you're a WordPress user, you can set up a data stream, copy the measurement ID, and add it to the WordPress settings, okay? So let's look at how to start. Really, when you go to Google Analytics for the first time, you see you can start for free. You can sign into analytics from there. If you have it already set up and you just want to tinker around with the reports a little bit more, then you can go to analytics.google.com just to look at the reports, okay? But either which way, this is where you start. Now, property setup is the first thing that you're going to come to, and you're going to enter your website domain name here. You're probably going to leave your currency defaulted to US dollars. And at that point, and see the little gear shift is under the admin. So at that point, you are rocking and rolling, and you just need to grab the Google Analytics ID. Now, if I were you, because we know Google Analytics just released an update last year. And so now they have Google Analytics 4, which gives you some more in-depth reporting and analytics, and they have Universal Analytics property. I would just click on the top option and create both, right? So it used to be where you only wanted to create a universal analytics property only. And if you're a beginner, that's a good place to start because it's better than having nothing. But if you have set up Google Analytics in the past, then you definitely want to upgrade to 4 as well and get the data from both streams. Now, let's transition. Now that you have an idea of where to start and what to do to connect your Google Analytics account to your website, how do you really use the reports in Google Analytics? This is my favorite part. This is the most important part, right? Because again, you can hire someone on Fiverr or on Upwork to connect it if you're not a techie, if you have a web designer, or if someone created your website for you, just ask them to post the code. It literally takes 5 minutes to integrate the code into your website, and then you're off and running, sort of, because you have to understand what all of this information is telling you, okay? You've got to understand what all this information is telling you. So I'm going to walk through the most important parts. And even though it is a lot, I want you to think of a few things, right? Google Analytics is great at telling you who are the people visiting your website, what are they doing when they get there, and giving you insight into what you may want them to be doing before they leave. So again, Google Analytics is designed to tell you who are the people going to your website, what are they doing when they get there, and how are they doing it, by the way, as well. And where are the opportunities for them to do something a little bit different that will impact your bottom line. So the first part of Google Analytics, and this is when you go into the homepage, right? This is a website that we just launched last year. It was taken very shortly after we launched a new website, and your traffic always is very slow until you start to promote your website. It just is, if it's a brand new website. So that's why you see these numbers. Okay, but on the homepage of Google Analytics, you will see the navigation bar on the left-hand side. Real time is exactly what it says. What are people doing right now, currently on your website at the time you're looking at it? Audience, it gives you information on who are your visitors. Where do they come from in terms of location? What kind of devices are they using, whether it's mobile or desktop, even what kind of mobile device that they're using, what their interests are, their gender, their age range. It gives you a lot of information. And if, let's just say, your product or service is targeted towards people who are between the ages of 25 and 45, but you notice that a lot of people visiting our website are over the age of 50, right? And you want to target women, but really more men are coming. That means that your messaging is off and that you need to look at where you're promoting your content and your products and services are at. So it gives you information that should help with your marketing plan. Okay, so that's why we go over this. Now, one of the things that you also get to learn is acquisition. So how are people getting to your site? Are there certain websites that are referring traffic to you? Are there certain people on social media, certain influencers that are referring traffic to you? Is your social media accounts a big referrer of traffic as well? And then behavior and conversions are all about what people are doing when they get to your site. Now, this first box or graphic here to the left side is telling you how many users, right, have been on your website, and you can measure by 7 days. If you're just launching a campaign, it could be 28 days if you're checking in every single month. Or you could look back and compare and contrast how many people have been visiting your website since you launched a redesign or even in the last year. So that is customizable. The date is customizable. Now, the number of sessions will speak to, okay, how many times are people coming back to the site, right? Are we going up, as in the green text would indicate with the arrow going up, or are we not? Okay. Bounce rate, again, is talking about how many times can people stay on the site and then do an action. So you always want to see that number go down. That means that a lot of people are not bouncing off before they take an action. They're staying, or they're staying and taking an action. And then session duration, you want people to stay on your site. Google has said that the average time, so you can have a benchmark, is 90 seconds, and that's dwindling down. So every year we see it go down a little bit more. Now we're at that 60 to 90-second range. The blue box here is always going to be active users right now. And then Ask Analytics Intelligence gives you data that you can use that you may have not even thought about. So new versus returning users. Are people coming back to your website? Would be a good thing to understand, especially if you're a news organization, if your website is a blog that's providing content on a regular basis. That's important information to know. Now, if you're an e-commerce site, probably less important, but it depends on the price point. So, the buyer's journey is going to be shorter if you're selling a t-shirt or a coffee mug than if you're selling a $1,000 program. If you're selling a $1,000 program, then people are going to have to think about it longer. You're going to have to provide more content, and it is going to be lengthier in terms of a buyer's journey. And then technical performance is just one of those other pieces of information, but they have like 50 to 60 insights in this Ask Analytics Intelligence. Okay. And then at the bottom is how do you acquire users? Remember, I talked about acquisition. So this chart can be found, and more information can as well be found in acquisition. What traffic channels are sending you the most traffic, right? What source and who are referring the traffic to you? Then I love where are your users, because not only are you seeing the country as this graphic will indicate, but you can actually drill down to the city and the zip code level. So again, if you're thinking about running social media ads, then that is the kind of information you don't have to show your ads to everybody in the country or everybody in the state. You can show your ads to people that have already proven to have some level of interest because they're visiting your website. And then lastly, it's when do your users visit? Are they coming in the afternoon? Are they coming early in the morning? That gives you information as well, because if you have a blog post or an article, or you're doing podcasts, right? Or blogging, like doing a video blog. Guess what? If most people are coming in the afternoon, when should you release or publish that new piece of shiny content? In the afternoon. So Google Analytics has a wealth of information that can be shared. My favorite pieces are, hey, let's look at our users, right? Where are they coming from? If most of our users are coming from LinkedIn, I want to double down on LinkedIn. If I have an ad budget, I want to run ads on LinkedIn. If the bounce rate is high, I need to check out what pages are being visited in behavior and see, okay, hey, what can I do to reduce this bounce rate and get them to stay longer? So bounce rate and session duration are connected. Okay, so let's go a little bit deeper. I told you that under geography, which is under demographics, right? So we're looking at audience, and then we go down the page to geography, and then we go to location. Language is really not useful but location, very much so. You can see most people are coming from United States, but look at these other areas that are blue, right? Where people are coming from. So that's kind of interesting. That tells me I have some opportunity for an international audience. So I might run some social media ads, or I might start having some content translated into other languages if those numbers keep growing and they're significant. Okay, so that's always interesting to know. Where are people coming from? Now, the next traffic report has got to be looked at every single month. So remember, I told you there are 3 reports that you always want to look at. It is, are more people coming to your website or less people? So on that homepage, right, number of users, that first box. But this one, acquisition and overview, is equally as important. So we're at report number 2 that you've got to look at. What are the top channels that are referring you traffic? Are people typing in your website address directly into Google? Are they finding you doing organic search and you're winning the search engine optimization or SEO war for your keyword phrase among your competitors? Or are there certain sites that are referring people to you? Or what about social media, right? So you can see I don't really use for this website, I'm not promoting it on social media hardly at all. And at that point, and so the numbers bear it out. A lot of people are actually just typing in the web address. So if you don't know where your website traffic is coming from, it's hard to optimize or create marketing campaigns if you have no clue. So this is a report that I encourage my clients to look at every single month like clockwork. Write it down on your calendar. The 5th of every month, I'm going to look at the acquisition overview so I can understand where my potential customers are coming from, optimize it, and then start driving higher amounts of traffic to increase my sales. And that is how you use Google Analytics in a way that impacts your bottom line. Okay, if you're still not convinced, stay with me. What if you say, Toya, I hear you, I understand exactly what you're saying, and I've done all that, and it didn't work? Then what I would advise you to do is, before you throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Before you throw Google Analytics out and you say, I'm not doing it, I want you to think about optimization, right? So to scale, you need to make sure that everything is working the way it should. So if you have a lot of traffic to your website, but none of it's converting, then we start to look at behavior and behavior flow. Where are people dropping out at? What are they doing, right? So in this case, the starting page is the home page. That's what that slash is, the homepage. And most websites, not all websites, because I told you America had 60% of her traffic coming in through one blog post. But most websites, new traffic, new users are coming through the homepage. But then you need to look at the first, second, and third interaction. Where are people going to? So in this case, they're going to a case study, right? They're going to a blog post, which is a case study. And then they're going to another case study. So the second interaction is another case study. So this shows that my target audience is really in the research phase. They want to consume information. So I'm going to give them more of that. But just like America, I also need to make sure that I'm optimizing those pages. Do I have a call to action on that page? If I'm selling something, do I have a coupon or a countdown timer to say, you need to get this? This will help you solve X problem. So if you don't have a traffic problem and you have a conversion problem, then behavior is the report that you want to look at to say, okay, when the audience gets to my website, what are they doing on the site? Where am I losing them at? And then you work on solving that problem. So let's transition a little bit. Should you use Google Analytics for? I really want to make sure that you understand, if you have heard about GA4, that it's still being in the rollout phase, even though it started last year. So let me explain to you what it is and why you might not have access yet. It's not compatible with all website builders. So if you're using HTML code, and you have a website designer, you should be able to upgrade right now. But if you're using Wix or Weebly or Strikingly or some of the other website builders, it might not be there just yet. There are less standard reports as well, and there's more AI or machine learning that comes with GA4. And that's why I recommend in the beginning that you actually use both Universal Analytics and GA4. Now, it should be easy enough if you're ready for it, if it's coming to you, right? It should be easy enough for you to sign up for it. Under, again, admin, which can be found in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. Once you type in analytics.google.com, should be right under property in that middle section. It should say upgrade to GA4 if you have the option. So that is where I would suggest that you start. And let me tell you a couple of other kind of GA4 features that are good. And Universal Analytics has some of this as well. You can link Google Analytics to Google Ads and YouTube ad campaigns. Also, I believe they do it with Facebook and Instagram. I'm not sure if they do it with some of the other platforms like LinkedIn and TikTok and Pinterest, but definitely Facebook, Instagram, and Google and YouTube ads, which are your top 3 or 4. The second feature is that you can track the marketing campaign actions on your website. So if the ad literally takes them to your website to a landing page, it will also tell you what they did, like where else did they go. And then you can set up goals and events in Google Analytics, which is more of an advanced strategy. I don't have time to cover that in today's webinar, but definitely something that you should look into if you're an advanced Google Analytics user. And then if you are advanced, you definitely want to set up Search Console for SEO, because Google Analytics will recommend what other search engine optimization opportunities, that was a mouthful, say that 5 times, right? That you can use to track web activity and increase, right? Get more traffic to your page. So how in the world do you set up all of this or some of this, right? It's kind of interesting. If you want to do Google Ads linking, again, we're in the admin section. We're under property, which is that middle section. And you would literally go get Google Ads or YouTube Ads linking. And you can see that there are a number of, like, they look like phone numbers, right? But they're not. And so you want to find the ones, and I manage multiple accounts. So you want to find the one that corresponds, and usually you should only have one, right? So if you only have one website, even though you can have multiple, you should only have one. So you would just check that and copy and paste. That's it. Everything is copy and paste. The campaign URL builder in Google Analytics is complicated. I'm not going to lie to you, right? But I just want to show you the level of the things that you can do with Google Analytics, because data is one of the most important things that you can use to understand where there are gaps or opportunities for you to create, whether it's new content, whether it's new ad campaigns, to help grow your business, attract more customers, right? And as business owners, we all need to attract more customers. So when you build a campaign out, you can actually show or add your website URL, your landing page URL that's going to be going to your campaign. Where's the source? is people coming, I should say, are people coming from your newsletter or from YouTube or Instagram to this campaign? What's the medium? Are they going to be submitting their email? Is it cost per click or is it banner? Then you want to give it a name. Then you want to actually say what's the term, like what are the keywords? And that one you don't have to use. Campaign content you don't have to use. So the level of detail that you can use inside of Google Analytics is amazing. You can also track conversions, right? How many people are visiting your subscribe page? How many people are visiting your products page? If people aren't visiting your products page, right, and they're not clicking on that to fire this conversion, then you know you need to do some refining. You know you need to figure out, okay, do I need to change the headline? Do I need to make the images bigger? Do I need to slash my prices? If they are, landing on the products page, but they're not buying anything. So goals and events are super helpful inside of Google Analytics. Now, the other thing that I want to make sure that you understand is on the left-hand side, don't get bogged down in all of the things, right? Because you can spend days inside of Google Analytics going through what I call the things or all the things. If you have an e-commerce site, you're selling products on your website, then definitely you want to visit the e-commerce settings and set some of those things up. But if you don't, if you're providing information, whether you're a local business or your brand, then goals is really the only thing that you want to use here. And goals and conversions are the most helpful things. How much money are you getting from people that visited your homepage and then went to your product page? Are they buying stuff? Or are you getting an email address from them to stay in touch? Those are the only two factors that really matter. Okay. So I wanted to share this, just a rehash of what you should be thinking about for your online presence, which Google Analytics helps you measure, right? The first thing is you've got to choose your social networks. The second thing is you've got to complete your profiles on those social networks. So find your brand personality. What's your voice? What are you going to be communicating? Number 4, pick a posting strategy, right? Analyze and test it. And analyze and test, I should have that highlighted. Number 5 is going to be the key. That's where Google Analytics thrives. They thrive in telling you, is this advertising campaign working? Is your website good? Is it keeping people on it and moving them down your sales funnel or moving down the buyer's journey? And then once you get all that in place and you are kicking out on all 6 cylinders, it's time to automate and engage and let somebody else manage it, right? I'm a big proponent, since we've been living in COVID, is that if you can automate it and still provide engagement to your audience, still provide a quality customer service experience, then do that, because I'm sure that you did not start your business to work inside of your business 24/7. So after you analyze and test, hopefully using Google Analytics, it's time to automate and then engage to deliver an exceptional customer experience. Now, one of the things that I want to really emphasize is that Google Analytics can make a difference in your business in 2022 and beyond if you, number 1, set it up and connect it properly. Number 2, just look at it every month, at least those 3 reports. Who is your audience, right? Where are they coming from? And what are they doing on your site? And then make decisions based upon those 3, the answers to those 3 questions. That's all you have to do. I wish you well. Again, my name is Toya Wilson-Smith, founder of NexGeneration Digital Marketing. Thank you to Megan and Allison who invited me in to conduct this webinar, and be sure to sign up for future webinars. And later this month, we're going to be talking about copywriting, and we're also going to be talking about Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn advertising as well. So I believe we have 3 more workshops to do. I could be off on that number, a couple more this month, and then a few or maybe 2 in the month of April. But nonetheless, I wish you all the success in the world in terms of growing your business. And if I can be a resource, come find me on social media. Toya Wilson Smith is my name. You can type it into LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, which is my new favorite social media network. Thank you for watching.